Jerry Jones has given us some insight on the return of a very overlooked defensive player, and we got to break down one of the Dallas Cowboys' highest draft picks that nobody is talking about, but he's about to make his debut, and we're going to go through what makes him so good and what does he still need to work on. We're going to be breaking all this down. What's up, guys? I'm Matt Long. Welcome to Cowboys Football 365. If you're a Dallas Cowboy fan, please hit that subscribe button. But getting into the news for today, actually before we get into the news, thank you guys for 100 subscribers. Now, getting into the news, coming from A to Z Sports, getting Hooker back is going to be a big deal, Jones told 105.3 The Fan during an interview on Monday. He's the quarterback back there, and he'll make a big difference. That's big praise for Hooker, who specializes on being the defensive, rangy, high safety, covering sideline to sideline, as I accidentally spoiled the rest of the video. But what we want to talk about is the return of Malik Hooker, coming back to a Dallas Cowboy defense that, especially on the defensive back room, has been decimated by injuries. We're down multiple starting safeties, and we had to run some more guys in at defensive back. Also with the Trayvon Diggs injury at the cornerback position, more guys are getting looks, which is okay. But it's not okay when the Dallas Cowboy defense is a bottom 3 defense in the league in yards per game allowed. Now, looking at what Malik Hooker's stats have been over the past couple seasons as he has been coming out into the NFL here. Last year, putting up 51 combined tackles, 31 assisted tackles, 2 interceptions, which is the most important thing that he's going to be bringing to the table. He's a very good ball hawk. Malik Hooker, ever since going back to his days at The Ohio State University, has been a very good interceptor of the football. This Dallas Cowboy defense, we're not going to turn into a top defense in terms of how well they play, but what we can do is we can be opportunistic and force fumbles and force turnovers. That's going to set Dak Prescott and the offense up in very good positions to make it easier on our offense, because the offense has been doing so much for this defense. It is time for the defense to step up and help out the offense a little bit. And they're not going to turn into a sick defense overnight. Just force those turnovers, force those big plays, and see what the offense is going to be able to do with it. Malik Hooker should be a big improvement to the defense when he does make his return. But talking about another guy, I can't say coming back because he hasn't debuted for the Dallas Cowboys yet, but if you haven't figured it out yet, I'm talking about second round pick Shavon Revel out of the University of East Carolina. Revel is 6'2", 194 pounds, and this guy is an extremely rangy defensive back. He's going to be slotting in as our cornerback 2 if he's ready for the spotlight like that, which I believe he is. I think he's going to slot in right behind DaRon Bland. Jerry Jones was a little bit more pessimistic when it came to what Shavon Revel was going to do. He said Revel is going to be a work in progress because he hasn't played any football until the last couple of weeks. And then he also added, "We'll see with him." So it doesn't sound like Jerry Jones is as excited for Shavon Revel as I am, which I understand. That's probably fair. This guy's a rookie cornerback. Cornerback is one of the hardest positions to play in the entire NFL. One of those positions that you get a whole lot of attention on you when you're not playing well. But when you do play the cornerback position at a high level, no one really looks at you. But what Shavon Revel brings to the table, like I said earlier, very athletic, very rangy, coming from a smaller school, a group of 6 Division I program in East Carolina. So there will be an adjustment period for him when he ramps up to the speed of the NFL game and the talent level of the NFL game. Dominated in college, as you would expect for a smaller school guy being drafted in the second round. If he was not coming off of a torn ACL, which was suffered in the beginning to mid, I think it was about week 5 of his final season in college, he would have been a first round pick. He has traits coveted by NFL teams, which is being 6'2", you can't teach that, and being as athletic as he is, which I guess you can technically teach, but when you're going to the NFL level, you don't want to waste time teaching guys how to be athletic. But things you can teach Shavon Revel. Let's go over his draft profile's weaknesses. Coming from Bleacher Report, they have him down to have slightly below average ball skills, struggling to catch with hands, and has missed the opportunity to capitalize on additional turnovers. So Deron Bland's a ball hawk. And Trevon Diggs is a ball hawk. Malik Hooker's a ball hawk. Siobhan Revel, at this point in his career, not a ball hawk. Has to get on the jugs machine, learn how to catch the football a little bit better than he has so far in his college career. We're going to see if he has made any improvement on that. You have to imagine when you're recovering from a torn ACL, maybe you can't do a whole lot of running, but your hands still work. You can sit in front of the jugs machine. You can have a catch with your friend. Hopefully, he has made an improvement on that, but we should not be too expecting of a whole lot of interceptions coming from Siobhan Revel, especially not early in his career. Average eye discipline in zone coverage, can lose threats in underneath coverage due to staring at the quarterback. So we talk about how he doesn't have the best ball skills, and when he's playing underneath coverage, in zone coverage, he kind of looks back at the quarterback, trying to figure out when is he going to throw it so he can get a jump on footballs. Maybe this comes from the fact that his ball skills aren't good, so he wants to get out in front of the pass so he doesn't have to rely on swatting the ball down or intercepting it. He can just stay on his man better by reading the quarterback's eyes. But, in theory, that's what you're supposed to be doing in man coverage. But it, like the bullet point says, can lead to you losing the man that you're responsible for, because in zone coverage, before the ball snapped, you're looking at the quarterback, and the ball gets snapped, he takes a couple of drop steps, and then when a receiver or a tight end or whatever guy enters his zone, you're supposed to look at that guy, but he keeps looking back at the quarterback and kind of tries to keep them both in his vision, but doesn't have the best vision in the world. Is that coachable? We're going to see. Honestly, not really sure how coachable that is, but you can kind of teach him to move more into what would be like a zone match type of technique, where you would, before the ball snap, you're looking at the quarterback, but then when the guy gets on you, when your man that you're defending enters your zone, you're going to lock in on him and play him as if it was man coverage. You would imagine that's what Matt Eberflus is going to be teaching Siobhan Revel once he gets fully ramped up and integrated into our defense. Fights against pad level, as it can get too high and cause him to leak extra steps out of break. So when you're talking about wide receivers breaking down, and because they're covering the wide receiver, pretty much any player who is breaking down in football, you want to break down at your knees, not at your hips, and get nice and low. Well, you want to get in both of them actually, but you don't want to bend over. You want to get low with your knees. So you get low, and it's called lowering your pad level. When you're hitting someone, pad level matters, because they say the low man always wins. And when you are a wide receiver or a cornerback, I guess it's easier to explain when you're talking about wide receivers, where wide receivers, the better, more athletic wide receivers are able to get very, very low while not sacrificing a ton of their speed. So think CeeDee Lamb breaking down, getting low, and then getting right or left or whichever way he's going to cut, or just turning around and cutting. As to one, when you're able to do that, you don't tip off your route. And then two, it's about not sacrificing speed when you're moving. So if you're a cornerback, you are also going to be running with these wide receivers. So you have to be ready to break down. Once you see that wide receiver start chopping their feet and breaking down, you in your back pedal need to get low, break down a little bit. Don't sacrifice your speed. You have to be ready to break left, right, whichever way the receiver goes, and ready to make a play on the football. But the problem with Siobhan Revel, he fights against his pad level, meaning he has a tendency to not get low and keep his pad level high. Now, his pad level, being 6'2", it's going to be naturally higher for him because he's a taller person, but you can't use that as an excuse. You got to figure out a way to, I don't want to oversimplify, but when I say be an athlete, make sure you're working on, when you're in the gym, make sure you're working on lower body strength. So you're not going to be getting fatigued when you're getting low. Make sure you're just repping it out over and over and over again. Do some of those combine drills where it's just routes against air is what they call it. I know doesn't perfectly translate to football, but that's a great type of drill to learn how to keep your pad level low, and you want to be able to get low while keeping your chest up and, eyes on the quarterback or on your man, whatever the situation is. Figure that out. This guy's too talented to use the excuse of I'm tall, so my pad level is going to be high. He's going to figure it out. Gotta work to figure it out. That always happens with these younger guys. They say talent sets the floor, but character sets the ceiling. No matter if you are not willing to put work and time into your craft. Doesn't matter how talented you are, you're not going to make it. Hopefully Siobhan Revel is a guy that is going to have the work ethic to support the talent, and he can work on some of these shortcomings and turn into a very well-rounded cornerback in the NFL. Can't wait to see it. Hopefully it can happen out for us. And, that's what I got for this video. If you stuck around this long, appreciate you taking the time to watch the video all the way through. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel. And go Cowboys.